Welcome back. Well, protests have rocked West Bengal's prestigious Jadavpur University after brutal police action on students last week who were demanding a fair probe into sexual molestation allegations by a fellow student. Today, Mamata Banerjee's nephew and TMC MP Abhishek Banerjee created a fresh controversy by suggesting that the students are protesting because liquor and drugs have been stopped on campus. The whole issue has become deeply politicized and deeply ugly.
Trinamool's counter-rally against Jadavpur University students in total condemnation of the JU agitation, which they say is anarchy. Strategically, perhaps, not a single Trinamool banner at the rally. But this man was in charge. He is Shankudev Panda, head of the Trinamool Chhatra Parishad or TMCP.
We believe that the educational institute is for education and therefore any lawlessness would lead to anarchy.
It is absolutely, I feel that students are politically motivated by a group of political persons who are working from behind.
At Jadavpur University, students not really turning a hair, not even at the entry of politics into their movement, which they claim is apolitical.
I think this is an opportunity for the Trinamool Congress to provoke the students who are part of this movement to, show some indisciplined behavior. But we will ensure all we can to make sure that we do not give way to the instigation.
Adding fuel to fire, this post on Facebook by this man, Abhishek Banerjee, Mamata Banerjee's nephew and Trinamool MP. The post says, alcohol and drugs banned. Is that why there are protests?
Yes, as a Jadavpur University scholar, I also passed out from Jadavpur University. I have seen the same thing. I actually endorse the whole views, what he has written over there.
I want to thank him for making me laugh. I think the substance of his post, I think, was that intoxicants have been banned and the students are therefore revolting. So I want to tell him that this is our intoxicant.
Meanwhile, the father of the JU student molested on campus, the incident that started the JU stir, met Mamata Banerjee today, was reassured the guilty would be punished and arrived at the Trinamool rally to urge JU students to return to class. His appeal has fallen on deaf ears. JU students will continue their class boycott and their demand for the VC's resignation stands. In Kolkata, Mamata Banerjee, NDTV.
Well, there has been much controversy over this entire episode, particularly that police action that took place on students at Jadavpur University. Joining us tonight, Nilanjana Gupta, the General Secretary of the Jadavpur University Teachers Association. Professor Nandi, who's also professor at Jadavpur University, is with us from Kolkata as well. Mr. D. Raja, the National Secretary of the CPI, joins us tonight from Delhi, and Professor Shagota Roy of the Trinamool Congress is with us tonight from Kolkata. Nilanjana Gupta, let me ask you first. Today we heard the father of the girl who had originally made the molestation charges, who said that he met the Chief Minister. He was assured that the guilty would be punished and that there would be a fair investigation. He no longer wants the Vice Chancellor's resignation on this issue. Therefore, is that still a key demand of those of you who are still protesting out there? Or are you holding back on that?
Yes. No, we had a general body meeting of our teachers today. About 200 or more teachers were there. And this was discussed, and I think that it was very clear that the demand still stands. The Vice Chancellor's actions during the setting up of the probe, his actions in calling the police, and his subsequent comments to the press have only helped to instigate more, I think, resistance even among the teachers. The Vice Chancellor is the head of the institution, and yet he has been making statements about his own institution, about the students, about the teachers of the institution, which, if they are true, I don't see why he wishes to remain the Vice Chancellor of this university.
Okay,
I think we are ashamed of the fact that our Vice Chancellor is still making such allegations, completely unfounded, baseless allegations about the students and teachers, and he doesn't seem to show any regret at all for the kind of brutality that he brought down on students who were just singing, making their protest heard. I was there till 2 o'clock at night. I saw the students, they were sitting around, they were singing, and to call the kind of brutality down on our girls and boys was absolutely, it's unforgivable.
Very strong words from you there. You're saying that you still want his resignation, and you're very, very clear that what the Vice Chancellor has done was wrong and it was not ethical in any way. Mr. Shugota Roy, let me ask you then, sir, that does the TMC at least acknowledge that the police action went too far? If you look at the way things played out, do you believe that the police action went too far, or do you think that it was necessary because some believe that the students were going to gherao the Vice Chancellor, although others have suggested it was a completely peaceful protest?
Not happy about any police action on any campus. Having come up from the student politics and having been a teacher, college teacher for 35 years of my life, any action on students who are like our children makes me sorry. But at the same time, one must acknowledge that gherao is basically illegal and unconstitutional. And as you said that there was going to be a gherao, no. There was already a gherao. The students had converted their peaceful sit-in demonstration into a gherao. Now, the Trinamool Congress or the state government did not send the police. The Vice Chancellor had complained that his life was in danger, and the police went in on their own, because it's the police's job to rescue anybody if he says that he is confined forcibly against his wishes. Still, it would have been good if the police action could have been avoided. It's unfortunate, but in the face of the Vice Chancellor's request, there was little that the police could do. So there is no involvement of either the government or the TMC in the activities of the police.
But sir, may I ask you, just on this point, sir, let me just ask you that, okay, fine, if we were to take your point that the students were actually gheraoing the VC and there was no other option that he had but to call the police, will you at least condemn the kind of brutal action that the police then undertook? Because there are some horrifying scenes of the way they were beating up students. There are girls that have alleged that they were virtually molested by the cops over there, and the ugly scenes that played out, honestly, are absolutely shocking. Would you at least condemn then the way the police behaved?
Condemn, strong word. I'm unhappy that this happened, and but if the police goes in to rescue somebody at his request, when that person who's gherao complains that his life is being threatened, then some incidents may occur. I am happy that no serious injury was received by any student. I am unhappy that at all this amount of force on the part of the police was used.
Okay, but I see that you're not willing to, outrightly condemn the way the police behaved. Mr. D. Raja, I know you want to come in on that, sir. Mr. Raja, do you believe that the TMC needs to be stronger?
Can I make a point?
Oh, okay, ma'am. Just let me ask Mr. Raja and then I'll ask you to come in. Mr. Raja, on this particular point, do you think that the TMC government needs to take a stronger stand on the way the police behaved, even if there was a feeling that the Vice Chancellor needed security? Yes.
Definitely, the TMC should take very unambiguous position to condemn the police action. I listened to Professor Roy, one of the respected parliamentarians. He says students are children, and how do you deal with children, and how the government allowed police to enter into the campus and act against the students so brutally, and this should be condemned in all possible strongest terms. And I hope Professor Roy condemns this without any ifs and buts. And I support the demand of students, the demand of teachers. The Vice Chancellor should have owned up moral responsibility for all what happened in the campus, and his position has become extremely untenable. And what students demanded? They wanted a free and fair inquiry into the allegation of molestation, and it could have been accepted. Now the Chief Minister says the guilty will be punished, and she has assured if that is so, there could have been a fair and free inquiry, and guilty could have been booked, and they must have been brought before the law. Why such things were not allowed to take place there? Instead of that, how they could ask police to go and take action against students, brutally beat the students. Now the TMC is organizing a counter rally and mocking at the whole struggle of the students and teachers, and these are all issues which TMC has to explain. Okay. TMC cannot
I just want to
escape from this responsibility.
Yes, Mr. Roy.
I just want to ask Mr. Raja, who is a senior parliamentarian and a very good CPI leader, one simple question. If he was in the government, if the police, on the request of a Vice Chancellor, had gone in to rescue the Vice Chancellor, would he have condemned the action of the police outright? Is gherao a legitimate weapon? Is gherao a legal weapon? Does he support gherao as a means of movement? And second point that I want to make is that nobody, please, he will respond. The second point is, the main issue was the molestation or sexual harassment of a second year student on 28 August. Now, in this melee, the police action has become more important. People are out on the streets, but nobody is taking up the cause of the girl. I am very happy
well, the authorities
that
didn't
the
seem to be
Education
interested
Minister
in taking up her cause fairly in the first place.
House yesterday, and the Chief Minister has met the girl's father and has said that
Nilanjana Gupta
total action must be.
Nilanjana Gupta wants to respond to you.
Yes, let me say that.
Nilanjana Gupta,
let me say there is still one
girl's father has assured. By the Chief Minister that the guilty will be punished.
But Ms. Gupta, the point is, I think the point that TMC is making is that the way the students behaved was not justified either. Gherao, they say, is not a legitimate protest. Now you're saying that that's not true, that they were not, it was not a violent protest.
No, not at all. I'm not saying that. I am saying that we
also have always
from going were they trying to gherao the VC?
Excuse me, let me finish.
Okay, were they trying to gherao the VC?
They had gherao the VC and the Executive Council. We as teachers were trying to tell them that this was not a legitimate form of protest, and we were requesting them to lift the the gherao, to carry on with their sit-in demonstration. But definitely the gherao is a wrong form of protest. We were trying to explain that to them, which is why many of us were there till 2 o'clock at night, and we agree that this is not right. However, it is also true that our experience in Jadavpur University has been that students can be persuaded. They may take a little time, but this kind of brutality was completely unacceptable and uncalled for. Okay. It was peaceful. They blocked the gates and they were sitting there. There was no threat of violence.
Ma'am, you have
there were
Professor
no arms at all in the students.
Professor
and
Nandi is
still one
Professor
student
Nandi is also teaching at Jadavpur University.
Today.
I just want to get Professor Nandi, because Professor Nandi, this is an issue that seems to have completely divided the student community. It seems to have divided the faculty as well. And teachers, where do you stand on this, sir? Do you believe that the students, did the right thing by gherauing the VC? Do you believe this police action was at all justified?
Let's come to the point. The first issue was the molestation of a female student, and that took place during during a ceremony at the university.
On what date?
On 28th August. And the thing is...
And what did the Vice Chancellor do?
Let me continue in my own way, isn't it? No, the thing is that, you see, first of all, we should always try in this line that the main issue was the molestation of the female student and the formation of the inquiry committee for that. But well, now the entire issue has been defocused to the resignation of the Vice Chancellor. But that was not the issue. Maybe an issue can come out whether the police action was justified or not. Actually, you see, the students are just like our younger brothers or sisters, or maybe even our sons and daughters. Well, any sort of action against the students is condemnable. There is no doubt about it. But let's come to the one point. Under any civilized society or under any constitutional society or under any democracy, every person has the free right to move. So, gherao cannot be at all encouraged under any circumstances. But unfortunately, in West Bengal, since 1967, 68, 70 and things like that, gherao has been a very strong weapon in the hands of any sort of opposition. I don't know why in this country, or rather in this part of the country rather, gherao has been encouraged to any extent. And the most condemnable part of this is that, that in this university, time and again, gherao has been used as a weapon by the students, by the non-teaching people, as well as the teachers and things. This shouldn't be the case.
I think you make a very balanced and a fair point.
Because maybe...
Nilanjana Gupta, just for a moment, I'll come back to you on that.
Yes.
That what Professor Nandi is saying is that brutality will be condemned. Police brutality will be condemned. But should gherao be used as a weapon by students? Does there need to be a reflection on that as well?
Gherao cannot be used.
As I have said several times before already, even on this program, the gherao is not a legitimate form of
protest. And gherao is not a civilized weapon also.
But on the other hand, it did not require. What the Vice Chancellor is saying is not just about the fact that he was gheroed. He claims that he felt his life was threatened. This is absolutely untrue. There was no threat to his life. There was no immediacy of calling the police and getting the students brutalized and molested in the way they were. There was no need for that whatsoever. We could have carried on a dialogue. He could have initiated a dialogue, which he refused to do. And let me also point out that the case that we are all referring to, we are all concerned about, happened on the 28th of August. Until the 3rd of September, the Vice Chancellor had taken no step whatsoever.
No, I think that's also an important point, that I think the students were agitated because they were fighting for one of their own. Unfortunately, Sambit Patra, what has happened in all of this is that this whole issue has become so deeply politicized and ugly.
I have to respond on this point.
Just give me a moment, Professor Nandi.
Now,
Mr. Patra, how has this issue become so politicized? I mean, we're losing sight, I think, of what the original issue is, which was justice for a young woman who claimed that she was, sexually assaulted, and that's a very serious issue that needs to be pursued. And now you have the attention, I think, now is completely shifted from that. Sambit Patra.
You have to realize one thing, that it's a very sad state of affairs in Bengal today. Bengal has only fallen from the frying pan to the fire. It was previously the left dispensation, and today we see as to how the police has been used by Mamata's government. I mean, if you remember, the Nandigram police excesses became a focal point of rally as far as processions against the left was concerned by the same Mamata Banerjee's TMC. And today we see police excesses against Jadavpur University students. 2 or 3 quick points. First and foremost, the focal issue was the molestation of a girl in the boys' hostel on 28th of August. Had the whole thing been addressed then and a committee been established to look into the whole matter and justice been delivered, then probably this whole issue would not have snowballed into the kind of thing that we are seeing today. And let me remind you of the fact that in the whole incident, Mamata Banerjee herself said that it is a petty issue and we need not worry about it. If being a lady chief minister, she calls this a petty issue, I believe this is bound to become political because it sends out a very insensitive. Just a second, I was listening very patiently. No. Please, just a second. I was listening very patiently. I would love if you would not please interrupt me.
Sambit, please finish your point.
So when a woman chief minister calls this whole incident a petty issue, this sends out insensitive message all across the country. And let me remind you of one very important thing. I mean, this is not a general case of police excesses against the student. Well, the student might have been wrong at a place or two, but when girl students are alleging that they have been molested by the police as well as by TMC goons who were present along with the police, then it is something very similar to what we have been experiencing in Bengal,
I'll let you answer that.
in the left.
I'll let you answer that. It's not the first time that Mamata Banerjee has been accused of reacting insensitively to a situation that involves an assault on a woman?
This is misquoting Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee made the molested girl's father today and assured that full justice would be given. The girl's father is satisfied, and he has asked the Jadavpur University students to withdraw the class boycott and restore the normalcy in the university. Number two, Mr. Raja had compared this to Nandigram. You have to remember that in Nandigram police firing, 14 people including 2 women were killed. Nothing of that sort has happened in Jadavpur University, though the thing is being blown out of proportion. And I again say, let us go to the basic, look after the grievance of the girl. In the meantime, the student should withdraw their boycott of classes or strike in Jadavpur University. They are losing valuable time before the puja vacations, and it is not in the hands of the student to decide who the Vice Chancellor would be, not even in the hands of professors like Professor Gupta. You can't just go on an agitation and ask for removal of anybody holding a post of Vice Chancellor.
But Mr. Roy,
that way no Vice Chancellor would be able to stay anywhere in the country.
The Vice Chancellor handled this entire issue very badly. I mean, you had a very serious molestation allegation. I don't even want to call it molestation. I think it was more than that. And there was not a serious probe initiated into it. In fact, from all accounts, there was an attempt made to dissuade the young woman from actually filing a complaint and having a fair probe. There were questions asked about whether she had a drink, what kind of clothes she was wearing. So the Vice Chancellor should take moral responsibility for that pathetic probe.
No, Vice Chancellor had set up an inquiry committee. The students had some complaint about the inquiry committee.
On the 3rd,
but I have no detailed knowledge in the matter. But Vice Chancellor had set up an inquiry committee, maybe a day or two late.
Professor Nandi, I'll give you the last word. Professor Nandi, you have 30 seconds.
But he cannot be removed.
I'll give Professor Nandi the last word. Professor Nandi, do you believe that there needs to be an inquiry into this police action as well, at least in all fairness of things?
What I feel, that in all incidents, there should be a very fair probe, and basically, until and unless there is a very fair probe and in a proper direction, nothing can be done. First of all, I think the gherao should be condemned to that extent, because basically, you see, if you just continue in this line, probably we have all gone through one great drama of John Galsworthy, that was Justice, where a person has been confined, and this is something over confining a person, and that is, we are just depriving his democratic rights. That should be condemned first. Next, the police action should also be condemned, and a fair probe should also come into that.
All right.
And furthermore, without getting defocused further, we should probe into the entire, the basic incident for which the entire episode has taken.
Absolutely.
To this
I don't think we need to lose focus over that, because unfortunately this seems to be a pattern that's emerging in West Bengal in prestigious seats of learning.
For the students to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to leave it at that tonight. Let's see whether there can be a fair and an impartial probe into everything that has happened, particularly of the young lady who was at the center of this all in the first place. That's all we have time for tonight. Goodbye.